Welcome back to the Titanium Hangout. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the Super 7 Steelheart Ultimates figure, their 7-inch figure in the 7-inch scale. Now, we've kind of been looking forward to her for a bit. This Wave 1 is starting to show up, and I got her at BBTS. And the thing about it is that we didn't know what she's going to look like. Well, now we see what she looks like. I'll tell you the good and the bad, what I do like, what I don't like. And overall, I'm quite excited that this line exists. Let's get into talking about Steelheart coming up. Okay, so here she is in the package with a really shiny, reflective slip cover. You've got the brown box. It does arrive in pretty good shape overall for the most part. And I do like the premium style of packaging here. And so if you do want to display her outside or inside the box, then this is how it would look. Not bad. Pretty decent little setup how they have the accessories. Looking to the back, she has a bio, so I guess this is a good time to read it. But there is the packaging for Super 7 Steelheart. Okay, so here she is out of the package, and I have to say that I've had a lot of concern about this figure, about this character, because of the fact that there really wasn't any pictures of the actual product, and everything looked different. All the different pictures that were out there looked different. So the way I feel is that she's okay. She's middle of the road. I don't think she looks as good as the render. I do not. I do kind of like the color of her. I do feel like it matches the on-screen counterpart okay, but maybe it's not as dark as on-screen, and maybe I don't like that. I kind of like it a little bit brighter blue, a little bit more fun, and that's kind of in the middle. She's kind of right in the middle there. She's dark enough that, yeah, it sort of matches the animation, but not so dark that I really didn't like that animation being so really dark. So anyway, she also comes with her two of the same bird perched and flying. We're going to take a closer look at that here in a little bit. But one thing I want to say about her is that I was thinking that Bluegrass, he has flimsy arm joints, and they fixed it in her, and I thought it was because it was a thinner arm and he was a skinny dude. But this one, it actually fixes it. So it's a solid, tight figure. When we get to kind of the articulation, she's still quite limited in articulation. A little bit more restricted than some of the other figures, so which is kind of strange. But looking at her face, I think that out of all of it, the biggest negative is the face. It just doesn't feel like it captures the face correctly. It's not horrible, though, and the paint is pretty sharp and crisp, but she is a little bit more pale than I would like. But now with all of that out of the way, she does look pretty good, though. So she's pretty much what we expect out of a Silverhawk figure. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at some articulation. Okay, lack thereof articulation down. Again, they still haven't figured out a way to get you to look up. So they got to be able to look up to be in flight pose and all that kind of stuff. But to kind of a ball joint, a double barbell ball joint kind of thing going on right there. The arms can go out past the 90 of the shoulder. You do have the bicep swivel, and then of course this swivel here, and then interchangeable hands. The ones that are on it go in and out. Some of them go up and down and that kind of stuff. You do have this articulation right here, which is actually not a bad place to have a female character cut. To tell you the truth, that's actually a good place to have a female character's torso cut, but there's no waist swivel, so you give up the waist swivel to have this. I guess that's going to work fine. But then when you get down here, it's really hard to get much range going forward. So getting like a takeoff pose is kind of hard. That is one downside. Really, it would be nice to see that go up higher. I don't really need her doing the splits, but we do need to have her be able to put her knee in the air like she's going to take off and fly or something along those lines. And then we have the swivel right here at the knee. Now, one of the things that Brian does say is tries to hide any articulations hidden so you don't see the cuts. And I actually like that. I like that there's not 75 different little lines of cuts in her. But here comes some articulation, rockers and stuff in the ankle. Gets the job done. And she does stand pretty solid. So that's another good thing. She stands pretty solid. She looks pretty good. She looks pretty good overall. For accessories, she comes with all these extra hands. She's got a grabbing hand in each color, left and right. Another further out hand, more like it's a flight pose kind of hand, and then 2 fists. I'm not going to use all these, but I will swap out a fist real quick. So whenever you're kind of pulling stuff off, give it a good twist and wiggle as you're going, and don't just rip it off, because you could break something. And then plug it in. And then the fact that the fist has an in and out, you can kind of get this kind of a movement right here with the fist. So that's kind of good right there. Now, she does have more heads. Aside from the sort of semi-smiling, she has a very angry head, and she has her shield face down head that are swappable. I will swap this head to this one when we put our wings on, so that's going to be something coming up. Here are both of her birds, and I believe it's Razer. I believe that's it. It's been a while since I've done my vintage Silverhawks video, but anyway, with this, there is one in flight. Well, it's perching, or you can consider it the flight, like it's about to attack or something kind of pose, but it is also a perching pose, and the arms are glued on, the wings are glued on. You do have some articulation in the legs, so that's kind of cool. And there's oddly enough, you've got kind of a really shiny reflective paint on the bird, but it's shinier and more metallic and reflective than what's on her, which she does. Speaking of paint, she does have a bit of a shiny reflectiveness to her, more than the other ones so far. So the head actually moves too. So they've put quite a bit into the bird. That's interesting. This one here, the wings are more or less static. They look like they move, and they are bent from coming out the way it's packaged. But it's a pretty cool looking bird overall. It gets the job done. Here is her vintage bird. So you kind of can see the difference in it. The vintage ones, none of the vintage ones really looked good. And so this does look a lot more like the cartoon, a lot more accurate. And Silverhawks fans probably could be happy at least just getting these birds looking so good. So that's pretty awesome. Looks pretty good. There is the comparison. She is a Silverhawk, and Silverhawks do have the wings. So the way they did it is you pull the arms out. So let's do this for the first time live on camera. Pulling the arms out, and that works. It works really well. So for the first one, let's see the second one. Okay, second one worked really well too. Then we have the arm here. This is the correct side. Yes, it is. And plug it in. Matches the contour. Well, sort of matches the contour of her body. It actually is packed in there wrong. Okay. Anyhow, then this one here on this side, let's get the shoulder joint adjusted properly so it fits in there. So basically when you plug this in, you want to twist it around. You want this triangle, which is going to be her attack, to be facing the front, which when you plug it in, it doesn't really... Well, I guess it just depends on how you articulate this and display it and show it, of course, but it just feels like it's packed in wrong. So for me personally, that's not how I would have had it set up, but here we go. And again, this one here, and this is the kind of the feeling I was going to get with bluegrass and all that kind of stuff. The fact that she's so thin, I'm really worried about the joints and all that holding up over time, especially since bluegrass right out of the box had flimsy elbow joints. I'm going to pull that off, put her fist on here. So you are constructing her, which I guess in flight pose, she probably doesn't need a fist. She probably needs to keep having this kind of a hand going on, but an open palm kind of hand for flight pose. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of changing out hands and stuff, but I understand why it's something that's a thing. But here she goes with her wings on, and that's how she looks. So not bad look overall. So the wings do kind of follow her contour. I think that putting it slightly behind her is a little bit better. And speaking of behind her, she actually does look like a woman. She looks more like a woman than the Gijoe figures that sort of look like a 12-year-old boy, but she's got the wider hips there and stuff. But watch me get proven wrong in this almost exact same buck, just slightly modified. Anyhow, that's how she looks kind of with her wings up. And then, of course, if you want, you can put her wings down a bit And so this design is not a bad design the way they went about it, because you can have the wings in different angles and areas and that kind of stuff. So let's kind of see how she stacks up to the vintage figure now. Before we get into the vintage display, I do want to show how it looks if you were to put these blast effects on her, which really it's the only other accessory she gets other than the bird and some head, arms, and just the basic obligatory stuff. And so I want to talk about this real quick. Do not try to swap out the shoulder pieces with the other arms. I watched pretty much every Silverhawks video anyone makes, and yeah, I did watch the other one about this figure. Sometimes you can get away with it, sometimes you're going to break it. If you add heat, you can probably get away with popping this arm off the shoulder and then putting this other arm on. Now, I was able to do it before on other figures, but I am always scared with these these thinner joints and all that kind of stuff. So that's always an issue that concerns me. So be careful with that. If you want to add some heat to it, you can probably get away with it. But if you don't add the heat, you probably can't get away with this. There's the look. It's not a bad look, and it's a pretty good way to display, and especially if you want to do some photography or that kind of stuff. But with this, I wouldn't display it like this. So for me, I'm not really too worried about all that. So I think it looks cool, though. It's something that they included. Hey, they got to include something, and they really didn't have a lot of accessories. She didn't have a lot of accessories in the show, from what I remember. So I'm never much for swapping heads, so we're going to go ahead and do that now and put this head on her, which I'm actually not going to display her like this, but that's how she looks with this head on her. I actually am going to display her with her actual face, not with the face mask one, but to each is their own. So now for comparisons, we are going to compare her with her G1 counterpart and our little vintage one. I want to say that in my mind, I did kind of expect her to come out that dark, and I'm glad she's this color. I do kind of like this color better than that color, but this is of course the vintage toy and what you'd expect to see from the vintage toy. I like this kind of complexion, a little darker complexion. Sort of feel like it matches the animation better than like a ghost. She looks like a ghost over here with super white kind of complexion that's going on right there. But that's how they look. So here she is next to Lady J from Gijoe Classified and Chun-Li from Playmates, which I think Playmates did a good job with their Chun-Li. She's not much taller than them. It's not like she blows them out of the water. She used to be their slightly older sister or just slightly taller counterpart or something like that. But that's how she fits. Lady J is probably the most accessible figure in G.I. Joe Classified ever. So a good and bad point. Here she is next to the freakishly tall Humaira from Super 7 and from Matty Collector Mattel. And then this is Super 7's Chitara, who's in either zombie pose or firing the Thunder Tank Cannon pose. Yeah, that's her new display spot, is Thunder Tank Cannon. So, but that's how they look. And just because I'm kind of running out of female characters, but I did have Evelyn next to Skeletor, next to Steelheart. We'll see Steelwill here in a minute. Alright, so here she is next to the Ramen Toys Quicksilver and next to my own homemade Copper Kid, because we're probably not going to see Copper Kid for at least a year if Ramen Toy gets theirs out in a year, but probably closer to 2 years if we ever do get one from Super 7. They say they're making one, so I believe them, but looking at them, even my own homemade paint job is shinier than what she is. And of course, Ramen Toy is shinier, and the new ones coming from Ramen Toy that are going to be Titanium Titans are going to be way shinier. So I'm hoping. I don't have proof yet, but here she is next to her brother, Still Will, and Bluegrass. They're all slightly different shades of blue. She does match the Still Will closer than anything else, and with that, I'm okay with that. And looking at them, this dude looks literally like he just walked out of the cartoon. He looks fantastic. They all look good. I think he's probably the best looking, like with the face and all that kind of stuff. I do actually like his skin tones better, and his skin tones better. I don't remember her being this pasty. Now I'm gonna have to see it in the cartoon, but that's how they look. They look good. So here she is next to pre-transformation Monstar, post-transformation Monstar armored up. That this one here is actually the ramen toy one, and that looks kind of good. She's gonna be fighting them, taking them on. But I have to say that this Super 7 made their Monstar in this wave. I haven't picked her up yet. I'm pretty sure I will. But man, that's expensive price point for that figure. I just haven't dropped the money on it just yet because I'm waiting for some sort of a sale on that more expensive one. Okay, so here she is with the rest of the team. So we've got Ramen Toys, Quicksilver here and here. We do have the Bluegrass. We have her twin brother over there, which I use kind of a mixture of arms for him. And we have the Copper Kid. That is a custom Copper Kid. So we got the whole team here on the shelf and looking pretty good. Now, a lot of people are saying that they don't like that Super 7's making the Silverhawks. They'd like anyone else to make Silverhawks other than Super 7. So I just want to stop and think, who would you really want to make Silverhawks? Because it was Kenner back in the day. Now it would probably be Hasbro. So we kind of see what Hasbro does with franchises that aren't Star Wars and G.I. Joe and Transformers and all that. Well, we see what they're doing with Star Wars and G.I. Joe and franchises like that. But at least those figures have some quality to them and all that kind of stuff. These figures for the Dungeons & Dragons look fantastic. Riddled with problems, though, and the whole line. I look forward to finishing the line, but so you'd really rather have Hasbro make it than Super 7? I'm curious. So this is my look at the Steelheart Super 7 Ultimate 7-inch version of the Silverhawks Steelheart. She looks pretty good. She looks better than I thought she would. I was really getting concerned there for a while. I don't think she looks as good as the original digital render. I don't like the very white complexion, and I don't like that she can't put her knee up because of her hip articulation. But aside from that, she's pretty much exactly what I expected, and she's a good-looking figure overall. I am sort of happy about the color of her body, torso, and all that kind of stuff, because I was really getting worried about all that. She is shinier than I expected, a little shinier than some of the other ones, but still not vac metalized like we all want. I wonder if we're going to get a toy repaint or something in the future. But anyway, let me know what you think about this figure, and are you picking her up? Are you up on these Silverhawks at all? Are you passing? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Video Hanger out.
You're up to maximum power, Skip. Begin countdown.
5.
We did it, Will!
Yeah, we did it, sis.